Hi guys, so today's video is about ADHD. I know a lot of us artists and creative types tend to have ADHD pretty often, but what I don't see is how people adapt their productivity or daily work routines to their ADHD to make sure they get everything done, especially when it comes to more creative tasks like art or drawing that can be a little bit more difficult to quantify. So I'm gonna explain how I do it. We're gonna get into some strategies and techniques that I use to make sure that I stay productive, stay accountable, and meet all my deadlines. All right, let's get into it. So ADHD brains tend to struggle with transitions and getting started with tasks. So I've kind of created what I call an onboarding routine that I do every morning to kind of make sure that I can get in the zone a bit easier when I start working. First things first, this is your reminder to take your medication. I know a lot of us take stimulant medications such as Adderall or Vyvanse, and they tend to take a little bit of time to kick in. So this is your reminder to take them now so that by the time we're done with the onboarding routine, they'll be in your system and you can get started with work. The first step of my onboarding routine is writing everything down. I know it's frustrating to hear, oh, just make a list and follow it, because I know a lot of neurotypical people like to say that, but our purpose behind making a list is not to just make one and follow it throughout the day. The purpose of this is to offload things from your brain. We just need to clear our heads, because I know when you have ADHD, like your mind's going a million miles an hour and it's very easy to get distracted and get anxious about things that aren't done. So we're not gonna be checking things off, we're just gonna be emptying out our brains, and that's why I call this a brain dump. So you wanna write down every single thought that comes to mind. For me, it's usually check mail, check email, drink water, take meds, turn on computer, and then I'll write down my work tasks for the day. Usually that's something like clean up this one shot or thumbnail 2 pages of the script. For you, it could be collect reference for your next painting. Like whatever it is, just write everything down and we'll organize all of it later. You can do this on paper, Apple reminders, like whatever you have. Now that you're done making the list, the next step is to highlight what is the one most important task that will make the biggest difference to your day. What's the one thing where at the end of the day at like 8 p.m., 9 p.m., you'll ask yourself, okay, I'm glad I got this one thing out of the way at least. For me, I work for a studio full-time, so this is kind of already decided like by my production. I have a certain deadline and I have benchmarks that I have to hit, so I'll just make sure to get that one task done at the bare minimum. The next step is going to be blocking all distractions for at least like an hour or two, if not the entire workday. I know it's kind of hard to avoid using our phones when we're at work. I need to use certain apps on my phone to be able to access my work documents. What I'll do in that instance is there are certain apps that you can use that will block social media, YouTube, other time-wasting apps that you might be inclined to go on during your workday when you should be working. I know iPhones have a screen time feature nowadays, so you can just go and set like a time limit, like an hour or two for each app, and by the time you hit that 1 hour, it won't let you use the app anymore. Tell your roommates or your partner that you have to work and you're not available anymore. Make sure that everyone's aware that you are going to be focused, you're going to be in the zone so that they don't come and interrupt you. Okay, after all your distractions are blocked off, the next step is to just make sure that you have water, snacks, anything that you need throughout your workday ready to go at your desk so that you don't have to get up later and go and get water and risk getting distracted in that moment. Just make sure that everything's there before you even start working. I know with stimulant medications, they can be really dehydrating, so I get really bad migraines if I forget to drink water throughout the day. So I always try to make sure to have a water bottle at my desk. This is also a good time to clear out anything that you don't need during your workday for your next few tasks. So for example, at my desk, I might have bills or other things, other documents that I need to go through or take care of, or like mail that I need to sort at my desk. I'll just put that behind my Cintiq or in a folder or in a file on my shelf so that it's not in my view when I'm working, because that's gonna make me distracted when I'm trying to focus on something. Okay, we're almost done with the onboarding routine. The final step is going to be just take a moment to breathe, to reflect on what you have to accomplish that day, what your number one key task is that you really need to get done because it'll make the biggest difference to your day. Take a minute to motivate yourself. Try to get yourself excited and to look forward to this one project. Sometimes I like to ask myself, like, oh, what's the worst that could happen if I don't do this? Usually for me, I'll miss my deadline and it'll make me look bad in front of my director, so I try not to do that. But usually that little bit of anxiety is what gets me like motivated to finish the task. Okay, it's finally time to start working. I am gonna give you a few tools that I use to make sure that I'm able to stay on task and not get distracted. The number one thing that's made the biggest difference to my productivity is having a body double. Body double just means that you have someone there in the room with you while you're working to kind of keep you on task. It's a sort of a passive accountability. They don't have to interact with you or anything, but they just have to be there. Ideally, they're working on their own projects. It's a sort of passive accountability. They don't have to monitor you the whole time. They don't have to talk to you, keep you on task. Ideally, they're just in the same room next to you working on their own projects. I didn't even realize I was doing this for the longest time, but when I was in art school, I remember if I was in the computer labs working with other students, I would see them and get motivated because if they can work hard, I can also work hard. And something about it just like it made it a lot easier for me to get started on any one task. Even if I wasn't talking to and interacting with any of the other students, just having them around made it a lot easier for me to be productive. During the pandemic, I discovered this website called Focusmate that connects you with an online body double that can stay on a video call with you while you both work on a certain task. You schedule a session at your preferred time, you log on, you introduce yourself to your session partner, you tell them what task you're trying to tackle during that one session. They'll do the same, and then you just turn off your mic, stay on video, and you just work next to each other. You don't have to interact with them, you don't have to talk to them or anything like that. It's free for up to, I believe, 3 sessions a week, and if you want more, I think you can do a subscription for like $5 a month.
I forgot to mention this when I was recording, but in the description box, I'll leave my Focusmate referral link, and you can get 1 free month of Focusmate Plus, so you can book as many sessions as you want without having to pay the subscription fee. So it'll be in the description box down below. This video is not sponsored by Focusmate, even though I tried very hard.
It was a total game changer for me when I was working from home. I would schedule sessions from like 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. for an hour each. Sometimes I would have the same session partner for all of those hours. Sometimes it would change each hour. And again, just having that accountability like really helped me stay on task throughout my entire workday. If you don't feel comfortable being on a video call with a stranger, you could always hop on Discord and chat with one of your friends while you're both working. You could use Twitch and watch a stream of someone working while you're also working. This is also the same logic behind using a coffee shop to go work. Sometimes it helps to have that sort of change in environment, but being around other people that are also working can help make you more productive. Music can also be a good idea sometimes. If I'm having a day where I can feel myself being very easily distracted, what I'll do is I'll grab like foam or silicone earplugs, kind of like the ones that you use on airplanes. I'll put those earplugs in and I'll put my noise canceling headphones on top of them. And I'll play some sort of brown noise or white noise to kind of cancel out like everything. I can't hear anything when I have these noise canceling headphones on, and it's a godsend when you need to be able to focus. Sometimes I also use 40 hertz binaural beats. I've heard that there's some evidence that that can help you focus. It's usually like a consistent tone, and it's supposed to help like turn on the part of your brain that helps you focus. I don't really know the science behind it, but it could just be placebo, but it works for me. If I'm doing something more mundane or something more tedious, like let's say I'm just cleaning up my storyboards or I'm doing laundry or something else, but I really need to stay on task, in those instances, I'll have a body double on Focusmate, and I'll also just put on a show or a movie or a podcast or something that's more interesting. Timers can be helpful sometimes. I personally don't use them because I tend to just ignore them, and sometimes when you're getting in the zone, it doesn't really help to be interrupted by a timer. But if you're having a task where you're finding it very difficult to get started or you really don't want to do it, setting a 20-minute timer can be really helpful, and you just tell yourself, I'm only going to work on this task for 20 minutes, and after that I'm allowed to quit. So that can kind of get you over that initial activation energy that's needed. At the end of the workday, you want to have some sort of transition routine to help you wind down and wrap things up. Usually, I'll just make sure I save all my files, have backups, organize whatever files I have to organize. I'll tidy up my desk and get rid of any kind of clutter that's accumulated throughout the day. And I'll look at my to-do list, cross off anything that I did get done, anything that's still remaining, I'll put it on my to-do list for the next day. And this is an important moment to give yourself some grace. I know us ADHD people tend to be really hard on ourselves, and we tend to beat ourselves up for taking 3 times as long to do a task that would take a neurotypical person very little time. But at the end of the workday, you want to give yourself some grace. Be proud of yourself for what you did manage to accomplish. Allow yourself to be satisfied with whatever you chose to get done that day, even if it's not as much as you would have liked to get done. And remember, focus is a muscle. Focusing is something that can get easier with time if you put in the work and you practice those habits and those routines that will create a more conducive environment to helping you focus. When my ADHD first got diagnosed, I found it very, very difficult to focus. I couldn't even keep up with the demands of my full-time job without pulling all-nighters or working really late in the evening. But now, a few years of developing these habits and routines and learning how my brain works and working with it, not against it, I am able to keep up with my demands of my full-time job, get all my work done in 8 hours, nothing more, nothing less. I can come home, I can work out, I can go to bed on time, I can make sure that I'm eating regularly. I hope that helps. I think a lot of the techniques that I mentioned can be adapted to non-creative jobs as well. I just wanted to provide some insight as to how I manage my ADHD as a working professional full-time artist. All right, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.